All right, finna go ahead and get this started here in a minute. All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast. For today's episode 183, we're going to be discussing how to avoid problems that most don't, right? So, we're going to be talking about a few different things on today's episode. If this is your first episode that you're watching, make sure you go ahead and leave a like as well as leave a comment if there's anything that you found interesting for sure. Getting into it, a few things I want to say before I go ahead and get it started. Make sure you're going to follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and on Rumble, all at Life of a Champ Podcast, as well on YouTube at Life of a Champ Podcast as well. And yeah, we're finna get into it. So I wanted to talk about this topic because I just see this. I see people going through the same struggles and going through the same problems and looking for solutions, but I feel like their problems, the answers to their problems, are really not too far away, but for whatever reason, they make it seem as if these things are unavoidable, right? And I do believe that most problems that you can observe that other people have are avoidable if you're able to observe something that is beyond what they could possibly perceive in that moment. So I want to go ahead and talk about on today's episode. Also, if you didn't know, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and rock it like that. So, also a few things I want to say before I go ahead and get started, actually. So make sure you go ahead and tap in with the shorts that I've been posting, as well as the YouTube clips. I'll be posting more here soon this upcoming week, as well as, like I said, look forward to these streams here coming soon. I finally got my reactions down, so I'll be doing more reactions this upcoming week. So tap in with that for sure. So yes, the episode for today: avoid problems that most don't, or almost what most can't. That's what it seems like. If you observe their behavior, it's almost as if they can't avoid certain problems, which is not the case at all. Not the case. So one question I want you to go ahead and ask yourself to go ahead and start this podcast is this. This is one of the most profound questions that with observing people's behaviors and observing the problems that they have, right? I always want to ask, why do people have similar problems or go through less than desirable experiences, right? Why is there similarities between these two things, right? So if you observe people in their life, right, a lot of people have generally the same type of problems, right? Um, or the same type of obstacles. Let's just say that same type of problems, same types of obstacles, right? Why do they choose to go ahead and go with that less than desirable experience, right? And like I mentioned, right, there are and have always been common problems that most people have that keep them in a state essentially of suffering or of being average or of keeping them broke or keeping them dumb or keeping them suppressed or keeping them depressed, right? You can observe all of these things. If you're even a decent observer of life, of people's behaviors and things like that, you're able to see the subtleties within a person's life where if they're one less than desirable way, you're obviously going to see another person who's living a more desirable way, according to you, of course, or according to the situation, right? According to the problem, right? What is the difference between their behaviors, their actions, their character, their difference of experiences? Why is one person having an experience versus the other person having another experience, right? The question I want you to go ahead and ask yourself is this. You must always ask why. And how could it be properly avoided, right? So like I had mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and break it down for those few things that I mentioned. I'm going to go ahead and give you a problem that I see commonly happen, right? Let's just say, okay, keep them broke, right? So a lot of people understand that you need to be probably good with money. You need to be financially literate within this life, right? They understand it very, very thoroughly, right? But yet you still see them in a state of being broke. The question is, why are you choosing decisions? Why are you not educating yourself on the things that you must be educated on? Why are you not instilling discipline in yourself? If you can see people have that same problem, or better yet, you can see people have a solution to the problem that you have. Why are you going about that situation the way that you're going about? Or for example, right? They make a problem, or they have a problem that keeps them dumb, right? You understand that the solution to you being, let's just say dumb. We'll just say that, right? Is to acquire knowledge. We all know these things, but yet there's certain people who act as if they do not know the solution to the problem that they have. It's almost as if they haven't observed anybody that had a similar problem to them before they encountered that problem. right? And like I said, it really is just as simple as that. Or like I said, let's keep them depressed, right? So some people will say, depression is something that you can catch. Other people will say depression is nothing more than an emotional state that comes and goes, like most, right? But with that being said, observe the differences between a person who is depressed, a person who has the problem, it's a problem, who has the problem of depression, and the person who doesn't, right? The type of people that do not, and the type of people that do. What are the differences within their character? What is the difference between their behaviors, their habits, their circumstances that they put themselves within, right? What is the difference between those, right? You must begin to ask why. You must begin to ask yourself, how can they truly be properly avoided? Because most people just they don't ask that question at all. In me observing certain people in my life that have certain problems, let's just say I wanted something that was different than what they had. I must take a different route than the ones they chose, right? If I see that the route that they chose is a faulty route, I have to, and with good reason, you would think to take the opposite road. But yet you still see people have the similar problems and who go through that same experience to learn that same lesson that they could have learned from just being an observer. They don't acquire the wisdom from the experiences of others. And that is probably one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen anybody do, right? You see somebody going through a problem. You see somebody in the midst of a struggle, right? You know the solution or the answer to their problem. Yet you do not acquire the wisdom that would suggest that your situation would be different if you were put in that same similar situation. And like I said, it really is just like that. You do not have to go through things and experience less than desirable things if you've already learned the lesson by acquiring the wisdom, just by observing somebody's behavior, right? Like I said, I see it time and time again where somebody will go, there's a few common problems that literally can destroy somebody's life, or like I said, not even necessarily destroy it, but let's just say make it less than desirable, a less than desirable state. So I'll give you a few of them. Right? Being in debt, having financial problems, right? That's definitely a huge problem that you see a lot of people have for sure, right? Or let's just say this is a common one that is a blessing and is a curse at the same time. Let's just say having kids early, right? That is another what people could be perceived as a problem or an obstacle that you don't necessarily need to have, but yet you see a lot of people having it. And more importantly, you see them, the same people who say, you know what, I don't want to be like that, are the same ones that end up being like that to an extent, right? They recognize the struggle that would partake within this person's life if they were to adopt, or if they were to adopt that same type of problem. Let's just we're call it a problem, right? So like let's just say you have kids at a young age, you're essentially going to be put up with more problems than you could even think of, right? And of course, like I said, it's a blessing. Of course, you have a kid, and that's a great thing. But at the same time, you're obviously going to have the struggle that you're going to go through, harsh struggles that aren't necessary to have, but are obviously necessary in the situation that person would be in, right? And one thing I want to mention, I think this is one of the most profound things that I thought about. Most suffering that exists is somewhat self-inflicted. We all suffer to an extent, but some people suffer more than others. And you must ask yourself why. Why does this person suffer more? Why did they create a situation, or why did they allow themselves to fall into a situation that is going to allow them to suffer more than they need to? That is one of the most goofiest things that I've ever seen. And I see it on a day-to-day basis where certain people would choose certain things. They will unconsciously choose a life path, and instead of recognizing that life path is going to have certain problems, they just go with it. They just go along with it, right? And like I said, it is truly self-inflicted, right? Everybody's going to go through hard things within their life, right? We all know this, right? But depending on the path that you choose, that is going to dictate what type of problems that you go ahead and have. And like I said, most people just they don't reconstruct it. They're not self-aware enough to observe these things. So I want you to begin to be self-aware so you can void yourself from problems that you don't necessarily need to have. You can acquire experience. You can acquire wisdom from those who have went through similar things. And if, like I said, if they're in the position that you want to be in, obviously go ahead and recreate the same path that they went on. But if they're more often than not in a less than desirable spot than you want to be in, you need to act as if that was your experience. You need to act as if you've learned something from a problem that somebody had by just being an observer, right? Being an observer goes along. It goes a long way. It goes along a long, long way. Let me tell you. Let me say, for example, right? I'll give you an example that I had within my life. One example that I have that is a great example, right? Is the woman that I chose, right? The woman that I chose to be my partner, right? What you must understand is there's a lot of problems that come with relationships, right? Obviously, no matter what relationship you're in, no matter how good your partner is, right? You're always going to encounter certain problems, right? But I just find it funny how people will recognize and really want to avoid themselves from having certain problems, yet they're still choosing people who would properly give them the same type of issues that they're trying to avoid. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous, right? So me for example, right? I've had enough dating experience to recognize that there's a common problems that most people have um with people that they date. So for example, maybe that they will cheat on them, or maybe that they won't treat them good enough, or maybe they will step in on their boundaries, or certain things like that, right? Those are obviously just a few examples, right? But what you must understand is if you're able to properly vet, right? If you're able to observe a less than desirable state that somebody's in, right? If you're able to observe, more importantly, the good things within certain people that you would want to surround yourself with, then you can avoid yourself from some few of these problems, right? Like I said, I'm not saying my relationship is perfect. By no means is it perfect, right? But what I will say though is by me being a good observer, by me applying the knowledge that I've acquired through the observation of other people and their experiences, I will avoid myself from a lot of problems that most people have. And that is exactly what you can do within any situation that you're in right now. You can avoid yourself from having certain problems just by being an observer and not putting yourself in a position that most people put themselves in. Some people have a hard life, but most people make life hard. And that is a brutal reality of life. Most people make their lives way harder than what they have to live based off of the unconscious problems that will come from the decisions that they make. This, for example, right? People don't want certain relationships problems, right? People don't want certain health problems. People don't want certain career problems. People don't want certain confidence problems, yet you still see them acting in a way that defies what they want. That is one of the goofiest things that you could ever imagine anyone do, right? So for example, right? People want good health, right? This is one I see all the time. People want to be healthy, but yet they do not act as if they want to be healthy. They observe people who have less than healthy behaviors and they emulate that instead of observing the people that have good, healthy lives and trying to emulate that. They still want the same thing. Everybody wants good health. I've rarely met anybody that will say, you know what, I want shit health. I don't think I've ever met anybody like that, right? But yet you need to observe their behaviors. What does their behavior suggest? And unfortunately, most of their behaviors suggest that they don't want good health, right? So for example, right, most people don't want certain relationship problems, right? But yet their actions would still suggest that they're willing to put up with certain things instead of avoiding themselves from certain problems, right? They still want the same type of character. They still will go through these certain type of problems that they don't necessarily need to go through because they weren't good enough observer to avoid themselves from the hell like scenario. Give me one second. And I just find it funny. It's almost as if they don't have examples of people in their lives that they don't want to be like. Like I find that absolutely fascinating. For me, for example, and this has to be everyone's experience, right? There has to be certain people in your life, maybe your friends, maybe your family, maybe people that you observe on social media, maybe people you see in your day to day life, who's living in a problem that you do not want, who's living a life that you do not want to live like. And you must, and from there, you, like I said, this is just common sense to me, all right? I observe those people's life's behaviors, right? Why are they in the position that they're in? Why do they have the same problems? Why do they have that certain problem? What made them have that certain problem? Right? These are all questions that you must ask yourself. And like I said, most importantly, how do I avoid these problems that most people have? Just by doing that, you're going to avoid yourself from so many problems, and you should avoid yourself from so many problems. You must work out the kinks before the kinks work their way in, right? And it literally is as simple as that. You must properly put yourself in a situation that will avoid you from having the problems that most people have. So for example, I'll give you another one, right? Most people live no, most people go through life and choose a career path that does not give them fulfillment. And then they wonder why they hate their job. And then they wonder why they're lacking fulfillment within their life. And then they wonder why they hate the thing that they spend the most time on. It is because you didn't properly set yourself up to be in a position that would suggest for you to live a fulfilling life, right? You did not choose a good enough career that would avoid you from the problems, right? So me, for example, right? I have chosen to be self-aware enough to choose a career path that would suggest fulfillment in my life, right? And just with that one decision, just by sitting down and being self-aware and asking myself proper questions, just like I believe everyone should, I've avoided myself from in the future having a problem where I'm questioning what I'm doing. You see what I'm saying, right? You avoid certain problems by observing the issues that people have. So for example, like I said, that's a huge one, right? A lot of people live they go to a job that they don't like, right? Doing something they don't give a shit about, really. They that's what they do all the time. Why? Why? And just simply ask why. And once you come to an answer, keep asking why. You'll come to the root of the issue, and then you'll come to a crossroads in your life where you will have two decisions that you can make. Stay on that same path that will potentially lead you to the problems that you already know that you don't want to have, or choose a different path that will suggest different problems, right? So for example, right, with the path that I've chosen, I will now have a different set of problems than the people who will have the problems eventually that are, them searching for meaning, searching for fulfillment, wondering why they aren't doing anything of meaning, why they're doing something that they don't care about, right? I will never have those problems. I will have problems that I don't know yet, right? But essentially you're still going to have problems, right? But you have the decision to choose which problems you would like to have. So what problems would you like to have? So for example, I'll give you another example, right? So let's just say you in a relationship, right? You're in a relationship, or rather you're not in a relationship. Regardless, you're going to have problems. Now, which problems would you rather have? Would you rather have the problems of, being in a relationship, the problems that will inevitably come with being in a relationship, or do you want the problems of being single? Ask yourself the question, because you're going to have problems regardless, right? I'm just giving you an example. But these are two different paths that you can choose, right? Just like with anything within life, right? I can use any example within this. You're going to have problems. So for example, I'll give you another one. Do you want to have a healthy life or an unhealthy life? Regardless of what you choose, you're going to have what could be perceived as problems, right? If you choose the unhealthy path, you're going to have health problems later on in life, right? But if you choose the healthy path, just know that there's going to be plenty of hard sacrifices that you're going to need to make. There's going to be plenty of moments where you're going to need to override the way that you feel to do the things that you know you need to go ahead and do, which is still hard and still a problem, right? You're going to feel guilty for missing the workout, right? You're going to need to get yourself out of a comfortable state constantly to go ahead and to do the things that you know you need to go ahead and do, which is work out, right? And that could be a problem. But like I had mentioned, right? What problem do you want to have in this life? What problems do you want to have? Observe the people around you. Do you want those type of problems? Do you, if that's for that specific situation that you observe within somebody's life, do you want that specific problem? Do you want those specific problems, or do you want different problems? And how can you have those different problems? You see what I'm saying? You can't avoid all problems, and I'm never saying that. You really can't avoid all problems, right? But you can choose which problems that you would like. So, like I said, I've given you a few examples, right? I like using the relationship example, right? Because it is something that is broad, but it can, yeah, it can be related back to pretty much any issue, right? The dating issue can really lead back to anything, right? Just based off of your clarity, just based off of your own self awareness. But essentially, what I want you to go ahead and do is you must create a hell like scenario for your life. You must you must evaluate the problems that other people have, and if you had those same type of problems, would that be hell to you? So, for example, let's just say, for example, you see people have kids at an early age, or you see people have kids. Yeah, you see people have kids at an early age, right? There's certain problems that they have within their life, right? Maybe they're less likely to build wealth. That's just one. That's pretty obvious, I would say, right? Because obviously they have to, not only do they have to work, but then now they have no option. They have limited options of where they can work, right? Their time is now delegated to a child, which is okay for some certain people, right? Obviously, it depends on what you want within this life, of course, but now their time is delegated to a child, so they have a less likelihood of being, financially prosperous, right? If that's not the life that you want to have, if that's not the problems that you want to have, then what would be the actions that would suggest you to avoid that problem? Maybe it looks like not sleeping with a bunch of people, or maybe it looks like you being very careful with who you would like to be with, right? Or maybe you taking the extra precautions that would suggest you not having kids at an early age, right? These are all things, right, that you must evaluate. And like I said, this is going to extend beyond the example that I've given. A lot of people choose a life path and make a life decision consciously and unconsciously that leads them into a set of problems that they will encounter. What problems are you willing to have, and what problems do you for damn sure want to go ahead and avoid? Because like I said, just based off of those actions, hopefully you can foresee the problems that will come with the decisions that you have made. Obviously, you're not going to see all of the problems, but you're going to see at least hopefully a good general consensus of what problems you will have based off of the decisions that you make. So, for example, I'll give you another one, right? So, for example, let's just say you decide to choose a career path that would suggest that you can make a lot of money, right? This is a huge problem that I see a lot of people make. It's one of the dumbest decisions that I've ever seen anybody make, right? They choose a career that would suggest that makes them a lot of money, right? The job that they work is completely dependent on how much money it makes. That's it. And then those same type of people lack meaning. They lack fulfillment within life. They have money, which voids them from a lot of problems, right? Like I said, any decision you make is going to void you from certain problems, right? But then it comes with a whole set of problems that you're unintended that will not be expected, right? You're going to lack fulfillment. You're trading your time for money. You're doing something you don't really care about, but you're doing it because it gives you a lot of money, and that's it. That's your best reasoning, right? And for some people that's good enough, and for other people it's really not good enough, right? But just know any and every decision you make is going to have a set of problems, and are you willing to go through with those certain problems, or are you not? Are you not satisfied with the result that will reap? Because like I said, everything has problems. Every decision you make is always going to have a problem. Appreciate you for stopping by. Appreciate you for stopping by. But yeah, I keep asking these questions because I believe these questions need to be asked, and you need to ask your questions. You need to ask the questions for yourself. Do you want to have certain problems or do you not? The problems that people have, the common problems that the people have within their life that keep them in a state of, let's just say, being depressed, or let's just say keep them suppressed, or let's just say they keep them dumb or broke, right? How can you avoid yourself from having these certain problems? Obviously, like I said, it's obvious, right? It's obviously by taking a different path that would suggest that you don't have those problems. That's the decision that you need to come to for your own conclusion, right? Evaluate any and every problem, right? And avoid that, and even be a better observer of the solution, or more yet, the people who don't have those problems, right? Why did they not choose that? And then you must begin to evaluate, is that closer to what you want, or is it not? Let me see if I can think of another example for y'all, because there's plenty of examples that I can use. That, like I said, I see so many people have certain problems. So like I said, the career one's a good one. The type of career you choose is going to give you this certain type of problems that you will have, right? But you're still gonna have problems whether you intend for it or whether you don't, right? The health one's another good one. Um, what's another interesting decision that a lot of people make? Um, yeah, I've already kind of named a lot of them. If I'm being honest with you, we'll say, what are some of the what are some of the bigger things within life, right? So you obviously have, like you said, you have your relationships, or your relationship decision, whether you want to be with a person, whether you want to be single, right? That's going to come with its own problems, right? The career path that you choose, that's going to come with its own set of problems, right? Let's just say the limiting factors. Let me analyze this for a second. The limiting factors of life. What about habits they choose to have, or the people that they keep around? Yeah, well, I guess we could use one of those examples, right? All right, we'll use one of those examples. Let's talk about the habits that people choose. We'll do this one. This is a good one, right? People want to be educated. Everybody wants to be educated. No one wants to be dumb, right? But then you must evaluate to see if you're truly aligned with that belief, right? Everybody wants to be more educated than they are right now. Hopefully, right? But not everybody acts as if they do, right? And it's based off of their habits that they have, the habits that they choose to uphold. So if you want to be smart, if you want to be a well-educated person, why would you choose certain habits? Why would you why would you void yourself from certain habits? Why are you more resistant to certain things as opposed to you being more open to do certain things? So for example, I'll give you another one, right? Just evaluate the habits that you have. Are they going to give you the problems that you want? So for example, this is a huge one. I don't understand why people do this shit still. If you're a man and you play video games still, what are the problems that you're going to have? Because any and every decision you make is going to have consequences, and more importantly, problems, right? So let's just say you decide to go ahead and choose to play video games, right? What problems are you going to have? First of all, you're going to have a problem within the game, which doesn't matter because it doesn't affect anything outside of life, or it doesn't affect anything outside of the game, right? Let's just say that is one of the problems that you have, right? You have the conflict in the game that no one gives a shit about except you, right? Right? Or let's just say another problem you have is maybe you'll get pissed off at the game, right? That is a problem that you will have. Another problem you will have is the trade-off that you've decided to go ahead and make. You decided to go ahead and indulge within that habit because you get the satisfaction of feeling accomplished even though you really accomplished nothing, right? But you also get, like I said, you get the trade-off, right? The trade-off is you decide to invest your time into that habit as opposed to another one. So now another trade-off is now you sacrifice the potential you that could have existed by choosing a different habit, by investing your time and energy into something different, just something completely different, right? Are you willing to make that sacrifice? And unfortunately, most men, I don't understand this, right? They still choose to go ahead and do that. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. But like I said, hey, if you want different, you got to move different. If you want the same as everybody else, move exactly like everybody else is moving. It's really that simple, right? But that was just obviously that was just one example, right? Or okay, I'll go ahead and use Jaden's other example, right? The people that you keep around, right? So let's just say friends, or let's just say family, right? We'll use both of those as an example, right? The number one way to avoid yourself from having less desirable people within your life is by obviously removing the people who are less than desirable. But yet, you'll see people who know that they want to avoid certain problems, but yet will not remove the certain people that cause those problems. And I'm just sitting there like, what the hell is going on with your life right now? What are you doing? You don't even know what you're doing. Your actions have consequences, and the situation that you put yourself in will inevitably have problems. Why choose those problems? You know the problems that you're going to have with certain people. You kind of know just by interacting them with a little bit with just by interacting with them a little bit, you can kind of gauge the type of problems that you potentially will have. You're not completely oblivious to these things. You know at least a little bit of what problems that you will have. Right now, are you willing to accept those problems, or are you not? So like okay, we'll use the family one for example, right? There's certain people that still choose to be around family even though it gives them negative emotion. They still choose to invest their time, and then they're pissed off of why this person is doing a certain way or doing a certain thing a certain way, right? When in reality, you should be voiding yourself out of that. You should be opting out of that position anyways, but you still decide to act in a way that would suggest those same type of problems. And that's just what it is. That's just what it is. Or friends, for example, or friends, right? If you hang around people enough as friends, you will begin to observe their behaviors and the type of problems that you potentially will run into. Are you willing to repeat those same type of problems again, or are you not? Because that's what it is. That's what it is. Or maybe you don't have problems, so therefore maybe you don't even need to repeat those problems, right? But yeah, like I said, I know this is sounding like common sense. This is sounding like such common sense on the outside. If you were just to be an observer, it is simply common sense, and you just don't even you're just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, all the things that you're saying, Chap, make sense, of course. But then truly just observe people's lives around you, right? I can't go one day without seeing people be contradictory, or see people choose a certain life path that's going to give them problems that they know inevitably are going to come, but yet they act as if they don't have any other option to choose. And like I said, everything I'm saying is common sense. It truly is common sense. But as we all know, common sense is not common. And just be an observer of people around you, right? I'm sure by just you hearing what I have said today, I'm sure you can at least come up with an example within your head of a person that has chosen a path that they know will lead them down to have certain problems, but yet they act as if they're going to have somehow, some way, different problems when they're not. It's like I said, it's just goopy in my opinion. It's just goopy in my opinion. But like I said, you still see it all the time. As an observer, these things seem like common sense, but as their emotions aren't tied into it. Okay, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Because their emotions aren't tied into it. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what it is. And like I said, that's how you that's truly how you should make most of your decisions, right? Remove emotion. Observe it for what it is, right? That's how you avoid yourself from having certain problems is by simply removing the emotion. Before the emotion even comes in, that will emotionally pull you to make a bad decision. Observe it. Observe it logically. Do I want this problem or do I not want this problem? Is choosing this situation going to give me the problems that I want, or are they not? I keep repeating the same things because it's exactly what it is. So, for like I said, I'll give you the example of the partner that I chose. Right? I evaluated that any and every partner that I choose or were to choose is going to bring me a set of problems. Am I willing to accept those problems? right? There's certain people. Look at. I'll give you an example, right? There's certain people that certain people choose that they already know potentially they're going to have problems with. So like, or like, let's just say they know that potentially there's going to be loyalty problems right there. They kind of know it. They hope for the best, but they kind of know that it might happen. And then they're pissed off when the shit happens. When they're not being loyal. You already knew this. You already knew this was a possibility. But you act as if you didn't. You knew that this was a potential problem, but yet you still acted as if these things were just going to go away when you know damn well that they weren't. One of my favorite Bible verses: God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Yeah, that is definitely a really really good Bible verse for sure. I think it's, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's something to the effect of that, for sure, for sure. But yeah, like I said, you see God. No, here's the thing, man. I'm not even gonna. You can't even blame God. You can't even blame God. It's just these people, man. It's these people. They're flawed. They're flawed people, man. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I'm not saying that I've avoided all problems within life, right? I'm not saying that at all, right? I'm just saying a lot of problems that people have, I've avoided a lot of them just based off of the decisions that I make, right? A lot of people have health problems, right? They want good health, right? I have made decisions that would suggest that I would much rather have the problems that come with being a healthy person as opposed to being a, a person that has problems that is unhealthy, right? I've chosen a partner that would suggest me having certain problems as opposed to me being single and having certain problems. I've chosen a career path that would suggest me having certain problems as opposed to other people who choose career paths that will give them problems, right? You must do that in every single aspect. Is this exactly what I want? With observing people who have made the decision that I am considering making, is the problems that they have worth having? Yes or no? Is it an experience truly worth going through? Yes or no? Or is it not? And if it's not, act as if it's not. Choose a decision. Choose a path that is going to be more like what you want as opposed to not. But yeah, those few examples that I have named, those are majority of the problems that most people have. They have career problems, relationship problems, problems within fulfillment. That's a huge one, right? That kind of goes hand in hand. Those are essentially some of the main problems within life. I'm not gonna say all of them. I'm gonna say most of them, but just those few decisions are going to avoid you from having so many problems, right? The career that you choose, the partner that you choose, the health decisions that you make. If you're able to solidly make all three decisions exactly what you want, and you're willing to accept any and every problem that will come within having those three things set for yourself, you're going to avoid most problems that most people truly cannot avoid. And it's so simple to say that. And then, like I said, observe it within people, right? Observe those three elements. Just observe those three people, those three things. Most people do not have those down pat. They don't. They truly do not. They usually have one of those missing, and maybe even have more than one of those missing. But those for the most part void you from most things, right? If you're a good healthy person, the odds of you getting sick are going to go down drastically. The odds of you getting sick in the future, the odds of you getting injured in the future, they go down drastically. I'm not saying that these things aren't going to happen. I'm just saying you're at least doing the damn near best you can in the present moment, and that's all you could ask for. Go down the path that consists of problems that are needed, beneficial, and unavoidable. Not the path of problems, not the path of problems that we just waste time and could have been avoided that have no meaning. Exactly. Exactly, right? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is, right? Yeah, like she had mentioned, evaluate the consequence of the problem. Is the consequence of the problem of meaning or of not? Exactly right. Exactly right, man. Let me see if I can come up with another example. Because there's so many. Those, like I said, I pretty much said all the main ones. for the most part. That, like I said, if you avoid yourself, if you make the right decisions within those just few things, you just won't have certain problems later on. Or like, yeah, you just won't have certain problems later on. And those are the problems that, like I said, they haunt people. That's the only way I could really describe it. They truly haunt people. And they, like I said, some people just they don't know anything besides that problem. They don't. I mean, let me make sure I said everything that I needed to say, and then, like I said, if you guys have any comments or questions or anything that you feel is going to be worth saying, make sure to leave in the comments whether you're rewatching this or watching this live. Let me know for sure. But yeah, essentially what I'm trying to say is you're not going to be able to avoid all problems. That's for damn sure. You're not. Like I said, I haven't avoided most problems, or I haven't. Yeah, I haven't avoided all problems. I'm not gonna say most. I've avoided a whole lot within my observations and my pretty decent decision making. Right, I've avoided a lot. Right, but I haven't avoided all. You will not avoid all. But what you can do is avoid, or what you can and what you should do is avoid as much as you possibly can. Of course, there's going to be certain problems that you still are going to need to go through with experience, right? But that's just with anything with life, right? But you have some of the say, right? A lot of people almost make it seem that they don't have any say within these things. But you truly do have control and say over some of the problems that you go ahead and have within your life. So you might as well act as such. Because like I said, the alternative is to live contradictory, is to choose to have a hard life instead of, or rather choosing to make life hard instead of having a hard life, right? Most people will make life hard and claim that they have a hard life, when that's not the case. Like I said, when that's truly not the case. You've simply made decisions that would suggest that your life is going to be harder than the average person. And now you have to deal with that. Now you have to deal with that. Before, when you're the observer, you get to choose to want to deal with that or not, right? Not that you have to deal with that. You get to choose. When you're the observer, you get to choose. When you're the person experiencing it, you have to choose. You have no other choice. You have no other choice. But like I mentioned, most suffering that exists is somewhat self-inflicted. We all suffer. Some people suffer more than others. You cannot neglect this. You cannot deny this in any capacity. Most problems that people have are simply they are simply to blame. That's it. They're simply to blame. But yet, like I said, they'll act as if the world is out to get them. They'll act as if if society is not in their favor at all, or completely trying to defy them, trying to keep them down always, right? But if it comes up to you, which it does most of the time, of course, there's certain things, like I said, certain problems that you just really can't avoid, that you must go through the experience to go ahead and, resolve your problem. But for the most part, you can void yourself from a lot of these things. Now, do you actually choose to, or do you not? Appreciate you for stopping by. Yes, all I have to say before I end it off: acquire wisdom from other people and their experiences. It goes a long way when you observe people and the problems that they have, and you say, I don't want that problem. So therefore, I'm not making the decisions that they made that would suggest the problems that they have. So therefore, make the decisions, make it accordingly, man. Like I said, I see too many people going through the same problems that I've seen 100 people make, and I'm like, oh, I already know exactly the path that you're gonna go down. I already know it. Your life is pretty much, it's been lived. It's been lived. The consequences have been endured. Now, like I said, is that the consequences that you want? Like I said, I'll give you a few examples, right? If you have a child early, you're going to have certain problems based off of that decision. And of course, most of the time, like I said, it's self-inflicted. So you've chosen to have these self-inflicted problems that will inevitably come up. Are you willing to have that or are you not? If you're an observer and you say, I don't want that, so are you doing all the things necessary to go ahead and avoid that, or are you not? If you don't want certain health problems later on, are you in the moment consciously being, are you just being conscious in general of the health decisions that you're making? Are you working out? If you do not want future health problems, are you working out? Are you eating right? Right? Just those two things. Just those two things, and you'll be good. With all the physical problems and the ailments that you will have in the future, if you want to mitigate most of those, are you making the decisions that will suggest that? Because once you get, if you're not taking care of your health, once your health starts to be compromised, you have no one to fucking blame except yourself. That's just what it is. They'll still blame the world. They'll still blame chance and all this shit, even though we know damn well it was you all along that could have made the decision that would suggest a better outcome for your life. But yet you didn't want to make it. Yet now you have to live within that circumstance that you put yourself in, self-inflicted, like I mentioned. Or like I said, with people and the people that they choose to go ahead and date, right? If you chose a person, you can kind of understand early on what type of problems will come with this person. Are you willing to accept those problems? If you're not, then choose somebody else. And if you, like I said, if you do decide to choose that person, you already know what the hell is. You already know what's up, man. For the most part, most people know what the hell is up. You already, in the dating process, you kind of already know what you're getting into. And like I said, if you're not willing to accept those problems, then you shouldn't be together with that person. You shouldn't make it official. But yet you'll see people who will see the red flags in dating, right? Like I said, I'm giving you plenty of examples, right? You'll see people who see the red flags. They'll still fully commit to that person. They will inevitably get burned, and they blame the world. They blame that person when you know damn well you should have blamed yourself in the very beginning. You know that those situations that you're in, the problems that you have, could have easily been avoided, but you made it seem as if they were inevitable, and that's not the case, right? Some people make the health changes once they get older and see problems happening, not realizing it's almost too late. Oh my God, she's on a roll right now, fellas. She's on a roll, man. Exactly, it's exactly what it is. You should have made that calculated decision a while ago, so you'd avoid yourself from having that problem in the first place. You should have been a good enough observer of the people that have those same type of problems and say, I want to avoid those problems. How can I avoid those problems? You must live life like that. How can I avoid problems? Are these the problems that I want? Any and every decision you make should be coming out of that lens. Am I willing to put up with the consequences of my actions or not? Everything's gonna have problems. Every decision, even if it's a good decision, is going to have its own problems. Am I willing to accept those problems or am I not? That's just what it is. That's just what it is. So like I said, it's absolutely mind blowing, man. It's absolutely mind blowing. My mind gets blown every single day just observing the average person go through their day to day life that I see, and I'm like, okay, you're making this decision for your life. Okay, this is exactly where it's going to lead you. I can already foresee exactly what's going to happen. In 20 years from now, you're going to be questioning the decisions that you made, saying, why the hell am I doing something I don't give a fuck about? Just that one thing alone. The career thing's a whole different thing, man. Fuck me, dude. Fuck me, dude. It's just so crazy, dude. So yes, any and every decision you make should be a calculated decision. It should be. Now, of course, there's going to be certain situations where you're going to inevitably find yourself in a position, right? Let's just say you happen to find yourself in a non-self-inflicted state of problems, right? Then of course that's something that you must experience, right? But for the most part, like I'd mentioned, most suffering is self-inflicted. If you break it down, if you break it down far enough to see the root of the problem, you'll understand thoroughly that it is self-inflicted. How can you avoid yourself from that problem next time? That's all you can. They live their life, they live life with their eyes. If they can't see it, then there's no possibility of it happening. Hold on, let me see. If they live life with their eyes, if they can't see it, then there's no possibility of it happening. There's something there for damn sure. But yes, use your brain, fellas. That's what it comes down to, man. Use your damn brain. When you decide to go ahead and make decisions for your life, use your brain. Don't just be doing some dumbass shit. Like I said, I'm so sick of seeing people go through the same problems, dude. You already know. You've already seen somebody go through that same problem. You know exactly the solution to your problem. Figure out the solutions to your problems before they even happen. That's my thing, right? So, for example, right, like I'll give you the examples, right? I don't want health problems in the future, so I'm acting in accordance to that daily, right? I don't want to question my career later on, so I've been hyper self-aware to the point where I understand what I want to do and why I want to do it, right? So I can avoid myself in 30 years from now contemplating my entire life saying, dude, was my entire life's work even worth it or not? I didn't, or even having the possible realization of, holy shit, I literally wasted my life doing something I don't give a fuck about, and it was 1/3 of my day for the last 20 years, and that's not good enough for me. And like I said, then you start to make decisions, but it's already damn too late, bro. It's already too late. Or like I said, the relationship one, for example, I keep using that one because that one's so valid, dude. I would not want to be with somebody that I already kind of know what type of problems I'm going to have, and I'm just like, was that the right person? Was that the right person I should have chosen, or was it not? Like I can't imagine. I can't imagine the things that people go through. I can't imagine going through the things that most people go through within their day to day life, because it's just like, once you see it through, once you evaluate it the way that I've been explaining, you see the subtle moves that people make that are literally their downfall, that are their inevitable downfall. Be proactive instead of reactive. That's what it comes down to, right? Understand most suffering is self-inflicted. Be proactive. How do I avoid myself from suffering unnecessarily? Suffering is going to happen. How do I avoid myself from having unnecessary suffering? How do I avoid myself from having myself make life hard? Because life's going to be hard. Life's going to be filled with suffering, right? Life's going to be filled with problems. But choose the right suffering, and right, choose the right problems, and then you're going to be in a better position than you would be if you, as opposed to if you, chose the life decisions that most people go ahead and choose, which reaping the results of what most people have. Like I said, if you don't want that, that's fine. That's great. Okay, what the hell does it look like? What is that course of action look like for you then? Like I said, it's really simple. It's really simple in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, I have to mention this because just know that your shit's gonna come with problems, right? Like I said, for example, if you choose to go to college, just know that you're gonna have fucking problems going to college, right? If you choose to not go to college, just know that you're going to have problems that would come with not going to college, right? If you choose a certain career path as opposed to another one, just know that you're going to have certain problems within this career path as opposed to not, right? If you choose this partner as opposed to this partner, just know that you're going to have certain partner problems as opposed to if you chose this other person, right? So make sure the decisions that you make are wise. Make sure you're using your goddamn brain, because if not, what the hell are you doing, really? What are you doing? Nobody has time for unnecessary suffering. Nobody has time to make their life hard, but yet you see so many people defying what I just said. And like I said, I just can't stand it, man. I have to say something about it, man. Think with your brain, damn it. Think with your brain. That's all I have to say for today's episode. So this was episode 183 of the Life of a Jam podcast, talking about avoiding yourself from the problems that most people have. A few things I want to say before I go ahead and end it off. Make sure to go ahead and leave a like if you did go ahead and enjoy, right? Leave a comment if you're rewatching this and there was a certain part that you had liked that I had said. And yeah, tap in with the shorts, tap in with the YouTube clips. I'll be making more here soon. If you like reactions, just, and if there's a specific video that I'm going to go ahead and react to, make sure you go ahead and send it through as well. And next podcast is going to be on Thursday, hopefully. So tap in with that for sure. And to go ahead and end it off, I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellows out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, and you know that people that are watching, you know that they are. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers, man. You got no other choice, man. No other choice. Outwork them, man. Outwork them. That's all I have to say for today's episode. Appreciate you for stopping by. Like I said, next podcast on Thursday, hopefully. And we're going to leave it just like that, man. Y'all have a good night.